But we're joined now by Dr. Austin Tam-George, the Executive Director, Institute of Communication Studies in Lagos. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the whole situation is just leaves lots of people speechless, as a matter of fact. There are many who even thought, in the midst of all of this, no word from anyone about what really is going on and perhaps what they will do about it. But what's your impression of what's going on?
No, I think we've managed the transition to the new administration very, very poorly. The government seems to forget that they are still in office and therefore have a responsibility towards governance in the country. What we are seeing so far seems to suggest that there's an abdication of responsibility for 5-6 days to the incoming administration. I mean, I don't know what the situation is in other states, but Lagos is literally grounded. You see people spill into the road. There are no vehicles for them to take to go to work. No petrol, to power their cars. It's a very desperate situation out there, and one would expect that those who are in office, will rise to the challenge, even in this very desperate moment, to rise to the challenge of leadership.
But can anyone understand why is it that they are not saying anything about the current situation? Because maybe they will think, well, who knows, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Is that justified in any way?
No, it's not. It's not, because the country still has to be run. My sense is that when you are in office, you have the mandate of the people to administer the country up to the very last minute, We need to make sure this transition goes on very well. But the sense one gets is that at this time, government seems to be disengaged. You would expect that the Minister for Finance, the Minister for Petroleum, the President himself, will come out categorically, even now as we speak, to try to get things, get a second handle on things. But the sense you get is almost total abdication, of administration, and it's unfortunate. The marketers, for whatever reason, seem to have, totally mismanaged the situation. There's a suspicion that there is petrol, and other crude products to circulate. But they are not circulating it. What you find is, black market operators basically running the show. And it's a very desperate situation here, at least in Lagos.
Who should be talking? Because people are confused. I wonder who should be speaking up at this moment. First, we understand it was about monies. It was about monies being owed. Then again, we heard about the strike action, about the tanker drivers union. And we understand that no one was even speaking to the people because people were in the dark, fiscal darkness, and in the dark as to information not coming to the people. Who should be the one talking?
Well, the government has ministers who handle affairs of state on a sector-by-sector basis. We have the Minister for Petroleum. We have the Minister for Finance. We have the Minister for Information. And then, of course, we have all the aides and then up to the presidency. So I don't think any particular person should be talking now. Everyone, in fact, should be talking, from the president to all of these ministers I've mentioned. But what seems to crystallize in this situation is that there is a complete information darkness. Then there is total disengagement from the business.
You don't think the handover has taken place, sir?
No, I don't think we are not. We are not.
No, but by the ministries, because one would think that, as you rightly put it, they should be the ones talking. All these ministries you mentioned should be talking to the nation, but not one has said anything.
No, there's a complete information blackout. The marketers claim that a certain amount of money is still being owed. Is that what is responsible for this situation? How much exactly is being owed? And why should such an amount be owed up to this time? We don't have that kind of information. There's an information blackout. And beyond that, there's also a complete abdication of governance, the business of governance. So what you find is the kind of chaos we are seeing all around the country. And I think this could have been managed a lot better, because we are transiting. I mean, we've passed the most dangerous phases of the transition process. The elections have gone. There is an incoming administration. The victor has shown reasonableness, and the person who has been defeated has also accepted defeat. So the most dangerous, most turbulent phases of the transition has already been overcome. So
well,
I do not see.
we thought.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, this has never happened before, where one party was handing over, government to another party. So we perhaps assumed that the most dangerous part was, the elections themselves,
Yes.
and the fact that one person will have to lose and the other person will have to win, and we just thought that was going to be it. But nobody really quite, thought about what was going to happen in between. If, for instance, the current government did not win, what was going to happen in that space of time when it considered defeat, if it did then, and thankfully it did, into May 29, what was going to happen. And look at where we found ourselves, assuming this was going to be longer. So, for instance, assuming this had happened, say, in February, where would we have been by now? Do you think that it is now time to start putting in countermeasures in place? Some people have even suggested legislation. If we say indeed that this is just about mismanaging or not handling properly the transition process, do you think that we should begin to sit now and think of how to better manage this, maybe through laws?
Yes, but I think this is even beyond the laws. I think this is more a question of handling the petroleum sector, because the kind of chaos we are seeing all over the country at this time is specifically related to the petroleum sector. Is it a matter of deregulation? It will be interesting to see what the new administration has to say concerning deregulation, because this is something that has been persistent over the past decade or so. Then is it also a matter of subsidy, for instance? We will also be interested to see what the incoming administration has got to say concerning subsidies. Are we going to have the subsidies implemented, or are we going to have them removed once and for all? Are we going to deregulate the sector completely, or do we leave a certain measure of regulation?
But what are your thoughts? Because you're asking those questions, which are very valid questions, but in the meantime, they're rhetorical questions, because you will only be getting answers, say, after May 29. But what are your thoughts? Because, if we say this is about subsidy, and we're talking about that, we're saying that diesel is scarce as well, and is also going up.
Yes.
The prices have shot up from 150 naira to about 250 or thereabouts, if not more. We're saying that
that's where you find it.
That's where you find it. So if we're saying that that sector has been deregulated, aviation fuel, then we're talking about gas as well, because we're wondering how it is that we've dropped to 1,375 megawatts. That's all that we have currently, if we're to go with the figures that have been given to us. How did we get there?
Well, you see, the word subsidy has been so scandalized in this country that it's almost impossible to speak of it in positive terms. But I think that there's absolutely nothing wrong with subsidies. There is no economy that is advanced in Europe or in the US, for instance, where there is no subsidy for the people at some point. Because, what they call the social security system in the US, protecting people from falling headlong through the cracks. There are some kind of subsidies here and there.
Cushions.
Some kind of cushions, so that people do not feel the full blow of economic deprivation. What we have in this country is not so much a problem about subsidy as much as the management of it, and which is why you are totally correct when you said that the diesel products, which is supposed to be totally deregulated, is even not available. You can sell at whatever price, you can import and distribute at whatever price in the market, but you don't get the sense that this product is even available at a reasonable price. So what matters then is not so much the question of subsidy as much as the whole moral economy of corruption. I think that what we need to do is to wait and see, because you can't argue for or against the Goodluck administration, because the argument has been made and lost, if you ask me, concerning whether subsidy should survive or not. So what I think we should do is to have the patience to wait. We have an administration that is coming on the platform of change. So my own expectation, and I suspect the expectation of most Nigerians, is that we will completely rethink this notion of subsidy and then see what the government, the new administration's own, impression is about subsidies. Will they retain it? What exactly is the subsidy, and how do we define it within the context of this country? How are we going to implement it? If there will be no subsidy at all, how do we then make sure that the products are available for people to use? Because what we are seeing is not just that people are desperate to get it, it's affecting the productive capacities of the real sector. The manufacturing sectors, radio stations are shut down here in Lagos. So what we are seeing is real impact on every facet of national life. So we have about 7 or 10 days now, for the new administration to come. And I think the debate needs to resume concerning 4 days for the debate to resume concerning what exactly constitutes subsidy. How much is the subsidy? How can we retain it? Shall we retain it at all? If we don't retain it, what is the alternative?